Huggy Wuggy, the monster that started it all. We thought he was gone. We watched him fall. But what if I told you he never really left? Chapter 4 just dropped, and hidden throughout the factory are clues that Huggy Wuggy might still be alive. Or worse, somebody brought him back from the dead. This was the biggest shocker of the entire chapter, and what a way to close it as we walk through these poppy fields and we get a message saying we're not supposed to be in this area. Lo and behold, the creature we never thought we'd see again returns to the window, but he's different. He doesn't look like the Huggy that we saw in chapter 1. This creature obviously has taken a beating. There's been many videos spread around the internet of him being absolutely destroyed, mangled, tied together with duct tape, and parts of his flesh showing through his fur. Some people are referring to him as the zombie Huggy, and that isn't too far off from what I think. They have created a character that has transcended this franchise. What used to be the face of it is now the most horrifying and maybe potentially the final boss of chapter 5. We have gone full circle, ladies and gentlemen. From chapter 1 to chapter 5, Huggy Wuggy remains intact. And that's what this video is going to be all about. Not only Huggy Wuggy's appearance in chapter 4, but what he means for the future of the franchise. And how did he get to this point to begin with? Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead and jump into this theory. So let's go back to chapter 1. We saw Huggy Wuggy fall into the abyss, but what we never saw was his body, and I guess that was our first mistake. We all assumed at that point that Huggy was gone for good. Other than chapter 3, we really didn't get any signs of Huggy from that point on. Chapter 3 even was just a hallucination, or was it? This nightmare Huggy came out of the screen, which in my opinion shows how closely the relationship between our protagonist and Huggy really was. They say after ingesting this poppy gas that was released from catnap, it would show you some of your deepest and darkest regrets. And in this case, our protagonist happened to see Huggy. This same red poppy gas actually shows up towards the end of chapter 4. If you look closely and really slow down the video, Huggy Wuggy appears, and shortly after, so does that red poppy gas. Which makes me wonder, was this all just another hallucination from the player? Or is this actually Huggy? And if the latter is true, how is Huggy Wuggy here? Who revived him? Somebody had to piece him back together. If you look closely at his body, he has all this duct tape and stitching. And this isn't something that he could have done by himself. And we can almost really rule out Poppy, Kissy Missy, and potentially even the prototype. The last that we saw from the prototype, he was discussing with Poppy that she needed to come home, and that's when she runs off. He doesn't seem as interested as reminding us that Huggy is still out there. So now the question is, who brought Huggy back? My theory is that there's another character out there that is potentially able to bring characters back from the dead. But what's the point? Well, as we've seen in the history of Poppy Playtime, things are never what they seem. And that's exactly what I think is happening in this case. We get a brief mention of Ollie. Obviously, towards the end of chapter 4, we realized through the phone it was actually the prototype, which, big spoiler alert, is very similar to the mimic in Security Breach. But one thing that is interesting and is said by the prototype towards Ollie is that he did exist just a long time ago. And that didn't sit right with me. The more I started to ponder on those exact words is when I realized that Ollie could potentially still be here, and I don't think Mob Games would have mentioned him if it wasn't of importance. I think the person that tied Huggy back together, brought him to the current form that he's in, though beaten and broken, but still revived this creature, was actually Ollie, and I don't think he did it for the wrong intentions. You see, everything at the end of chapter 4 went into a scramble. the whole chapter ended in chaos. Poppy ran off, Kissy tried to save us and her arm got ripped off, and we fell into this pit. Obviously someplace that we were never supposed to see. And so, that being said, if we somehow fell even lower than the prison where all these abandoned toys, the toys that were never supposed to see the light of day, ended up, and we are under that, then only one person comes to mind that could potentially be here in this location. And that, ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't guessed it, is Ollie, which splits this theory into two. You take the direction that Ollie brought Huggy back in order to have him help us and assist us in getting towards the prototype and furthering our goal in the next chapters. Or the latter, which is that Huggy is here and is slowly going to improve more and more, becoming this evil creature that turns into something even more horrific. This comes to mind only because of Project Playtime. We get a zombie form of Huggy Wuggy, at least a skin of him, and there's also those crazy forms of these characters that are very robotic. I could imagine a world where they make Huggy into this robot cyborg creature and ends up being the final boss of chapter 5. But on the flip side, I can also see a world where, with no other hope in sight for our protagonist in chapter 5, where the only way we can escape this place, the only way that we can receive help, seeing as now Kissy's out of the picture, Poppy's out of the picture, Ollie doesn't even exist on the phone to assist us, the only way out could potentially be the one who put us here to begin with, the one that started it all, and that would be Huggy. What if Huggy is the only experiment left at this point that remembers the truth about the prototype? Is he trying to help us escape the Playtime Co factory at the end of chapter 4? And that's the reason he's beating on the door in order to get us out, seeing as he knows something even more horrific is on the way. If we stop running and listened, could Huggy actually lead us to the company's biggest secrets somewhere deep within these tunnels? Imagine how insane it would be if chapter 5 was Huggy saving us instead of attacking us this entire time. Now I know this doesn't seem like it could be a possibility, seeing as the last time we saw a clip of Huggy, he was attacking people during the Hour of Joy. But these characters and these toys make mistakes. Desperate times had called for desperate measures, and we don't know how evil these scientists were to them. I could see a world where Huggy comes back on the ultimate redemption arc, and chapter 5 starts off with him actually opening up this door for us and leading us to the next step in our comeback. I guess the question we all really need to ask ourselves is Huggy really trying to help us, or is he still dangerous? Why would they put us back into this same situation? And who brought Huggy back? I'd love to know your theories in the comment section down below as well. And make sure you hit that subscribe button for more awesome Poppy Playtime secrets and theory videos just like this one. The next video we should be doing on the channel is going to be in relation to Poppy's relationship with the prototype and exactly what we can expect to her going forward. Anyways, guys, thank you again for all the love and support. Hopefully you enjoyed chapter 4, and I'll see you in the next one. Till then, peace out!